Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Boarding is right there. Hello, one and all. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to T3PO Live. And thank you so much for coming on in. I believe the pro show is just about wrapping up right here, so please go ahead, file in. It's okay. It's all right. Don't even worry about it. Don't worry. Carry on. It's okay. I talked to Pro. He knows the game. He knows what's going on right here. He prefers to end a little bit while one show's beginning. That way we can get all warmed up. So let's go ahead and warm up together. Oh wait, that doesn't sound very good at all right there. But you know what does sound very good? Our panel. Our panel is full of some amazing theme park expertise, some travel experience, some vlogging experience. We got everybody under the rainbow here right now. So let's go ahead and let's all file everybody in right here. You know him, you love him. Barry Place 28 right here. That's the view that we like. Hello there, sir. Good to see you. How you doing?
Good morning. Thanks for having me back today, and I'm doing well. How are you?
Absolutely. Oh, I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for asking right now. And you know what? It's the first time to T3PO, but it won't be the last. This guy's a very, very good friend of mine. And I got to be honest, Barry, I thought of you too when coming up with the live show and what that's going to feel like, what it's going to look like, who I'm going to have on. So without any further ado, we got to have him on. My very, very good friend, my compatriot, my Disneyland brother, if you will, right here. Well, it is Theme Park Casual. Hey, what is going on, Mr. Casual?
Hey, kids. Good to be here. Glad to finally be able to make it on the show. Looking forward to it. So, what's on the docket for today, Vash?
Well, what is on the docket indeed? So, as many of you might be well aware, I had the fortunate pleasure of making it out to the Enclave, where we had a big meetup of all the that Park Place contributors or people on the staff there. And I gotta be honest, the amount of collaboration and everybody seeing everybody, that was really something special. That was something that was very enriching. But informationally, we were able to go ahead and trade notes and trade information. And one of those things that I had the privilege of also seeing was some of the documents that have been kind of under wraps here by that Park Place crew, at least the upper echelon there. So you've heard about WW Pro and him talking about some of these leaks that attached to some of those documents. You've heard Jonas talk about those same things. Well, guess what, folks? I was able to see them as well. And I took about 4 hours of notes, compiling all of the things attached to some of that documentation. And just in time for 4 hours of notes, Culture Casino.
Hey guys.
What is going on, good sir? How are you feeling today? What is going on? You just came off an appearance at the Pro Show. Very good job.
Yeah.
Sorry.
A little just a drop in at the latest moment there. Dean Kane was a little late, so I wasn't going to run anybody off the panel, so I waited for a bit and just joined there at the end. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. I miss my that Park Place people. It's bad. So no, I'm glad to be back. And I will be here until just a few more moments before Nate's show starts. So today I have at least at minimum 10 hours of live streaming in total. So, yeah.
You know, Culture, if you would have told me, hey, look, listen, I'm doing 10 hours straight here. I'm sorry, but I have to decline. I would have very much understood. But Culture, we missed you at the Enclave, but trust me, it's not going to be the last. We're going to have more frequently, and you were absolutely invited, good sir. So don't feel bad. Don't feel left out. And also too, I finally, folks, this is a first, I know. Finally got the redirect working. So after this show has concluded, y'all going to be making your way over to Mr. H and his lovely live stream, which nice thumbnail for that as well. Yeah. So thank you, Culture, for gracing us and for warming up the crowd for that next show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So without any further ado, everybody, what did I learn while I was at the Enclave? What notes did I furiously take down with my time with these documents right here? Well, so I'm leaning how to describe this. There is a packet of information that was distributed to the people of a certain department within the Disney Parks division. And it was very instructive. It was very, obviously, it was very food and beverage and retail focused. And you had some people of those departments actually contributing to this report that they wanted to get out there. It's very clear to me that, merchandise, food and beverage and everything like that, they're under a lot of pressure here. And the times they have changed. They talk about how the guest mix and guest patterns from, before COVID are very different post-COVID. And they're hoping that a lot of those trends and so forth, that shifts back to where it was. And the reason I say that is because, well, a lot of these departments are experiencing a decline in some of their sales, in some of their conversions, and so forth. Now, the thing that I kind of wanted to bring to this panel, and I think we'll get to the merchandise side of it as well, but the thing I think a lot of people are here for is sit down or table service dining. Now, to Disneylanders, it's like, yeah, well, we only have like 4 table service restaurants in all of Disneyland, which is insane, by the way, right? But for a place like Walt Disney World, and even Disneyland Resort, if you include California Adventure and Disney, table service dining is big business. It's a whole lot of money that's involved right here. And there were some of the food and beverage team that admitted that table service is down. And so before I kick it off the panel, because literally, folks, these guys are so good. They're so amazing, our panelists today, that I just kind of want to go ahead and kick it off to them and just kind of prod the conversation along because I don't think I'll need much instruction to get people going. But the thing that they said was was that time was the biggest factor in terms of this decline, or at least what they're seeing. They even acknowledge that, you'd think it would be price, and that's what I would say too, and everybody would say. But it seems that they're really not acknowledging that it has anything to do with price. Now, that could be true or false. They're saying that time is the biggest factor, and people aren't willing to give up that much time for that kind of an experience. So, after hearing that all, guys, take it away. What are your thoughts? What are your first initial reactions? What are your experiences? Please let the audience know. Don't all answer all at once.
I would say I'm not surprised. I mean, we're in a very strong economic downturn. Having table service, any quick service, any of those types of things, I think you're going to see lower receipts on the Disney side of things. That's unsurprising to me, right? I mean, these are the things that absolutely are going on right now. Skipped meals? Are you kidding? All the stuff that you posted here on the screen. You have to consider that for most Americans, the price of nearly every staple item in their household went between 20 and 40% higher over the course of the last 3 to 4 years. Not to mention the fact that fuel at times is twice as much as you were paying, 4 years ago. And so there's all of these elements that contribute to, the expense for going to enjoy any of the finer things at the theme parks. And Disney does have a lot of things to enjoy. I mean, they have that beautiful Tokyo dining restaurant back there in Japan and Epcot and all these other places that you can eat. But I forego, fancy meals from time to time when I visit places now because, it's ridiculously expensive. Consider that, the fact that you're adding a considerable additional expense to your theme park visit because ticket prices have gone up at an accelerated rate, and they're not commensurate with inflation over the course of since the 1970s, so 50 some years ago. So, I mean, that's where we are. I don't know if anybody would disagree with that.
Well, I think kind of piggyback on what you're saying there. So when you're having to spend a lot more for theme park tickets and just more for everything in general, obviously you got to cut some costs. And I met someone recently at the park who, took her family there, and she was telling me that, really she scraped and saved to take this family vacation. She couldn't afford to go to the fancy restaurants and to do much. She got just enough what she needed to, buy a couple gifts, get the Genie Plus Pass, get the tickets, and go to the park. They brought a bunch of snacks, they brought a bunch of food, which I tend to do, also. But people are definitely, trying to make ends meet, but at the same time, have that family experience of vacation. I think the other thing is too, though, is that a lot of the people who are going. So let me give you one of the examples. Blue Bayou, it just remodeled,
yes.
To, brand new restored restaurant. But the thing is, I went there before they did the remodel. And when I went there, I was really disappointed. I had just a mediocre experience. So, I mean, staff was great, but the food wasn't that great. They don't give you rolls anymore. There's a lot of things that they used to do they don't do anymore. And so you come there for this dining experience and you expect, hey, if I'm going to spend a little bit of extra money on this, I'm going to get top service, top food, top everything. And that was not my experience, which is really disappointing because it was the first time I'd ever had a bad experience at Blue Bayou. Now, I haven't been back since they did the remodel, but I've talked to some of my friends who have gone back, and they were like, it wasn't that great before we went before the remodel, and it didn't change much afterwards. Still just kind of food was just okay, and we're spending a lot of money, and you don't get a lot of food, and I've been there, done that. So maybe I don't need to do that again. And I think that might be the same thing too. Once you do that experience of some of those restaurants that you wanted to go to, well, maybe you don't need to go back unless it was a really good experience and really good food.
Yeah, I think it comes down to value for everybody. Obviously, with the table service, not only do you have the time that it takes at the park that you're losing out on, seeing a show or checking out the attractions that you wanted, but there's all the planning that's involved with getting the reservation and then coordinating the reservation with all your other, Genie Plus activities. it becomes a real task, and it's not for everybody to be able to do stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that just say, you know what, it's my vacation. I'm not going to spend that kind of, mental time and effort into, just trying to get a reservation at a restaurant that, like everybody is saying, is not going to be, necessarily a top flight experience anymore. These places that used to be those signature establishments, they're starting to kind of lose their luster, and it's only because it's so difficult to get in. It's like, there's the exclusivity of it, but it's kind of like, why am I going to bother going through all of that when we're just going to sit there, we're going to have a meal, we're going to miss out on, being able to check out all the other things that we want to see. And then it's going to cost us an arm and a leg on top of everything. There's like a number of factors that go into this. And I think, part of it is that, like Disney is saying, the time is what people are looking for. And time factors in all along, from planning your vacation all the way down to the day of, and if you're not giving people that flexibility to be able to say, you know what, we can, let's go see if there's a reservation at Blue Bayou and stop in and check, you've kind of trained people already that, what, if we didn't get our reservation 60 days ago, we're not even going to bother checking, so there's a lot involved.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely 100% correct. I think maybe the Disney dining program leaving and coming back, maybe that has something to do with it as well. Maybe that's something that hasn't been previously considered. I'm not sure, but I think you guys are 100% spot on. Look, that not only, to Culture's point, is the price has been significantly increased, but as Barry Place 28 actually mentioned, the value has gone down. I think that's what you were talking about as well, Casual. The value of these sit-down restaurants has gone down in considerable ways. Now, we talk about longtime fans of mine might remember how I referred to Christine McCarthy back in the day, Christine Waistlines, and that's because, well, she made a comment about people's waistlines and how they were doing a favor by reducing the portion sizes of their guests at the parks, basically calling them fat. So it was a very interesting comment, but think about it. If you reduce like the bread service at Blue Bayou, or the portion sizes at Cafe Orleans, or the I don't know, the extras that you used to get at any of these table service establishments, and also affect the food quality and so forth, as Disney attempts to reduce and minimize costs. Well, that's obviously going to change your perception on how you engage with table service, and especially in a place like Walt Disney World, where time is money. You are literally spending thousands and thousands of dollars every single day just to be at that location in that one place. Well, there's no surprise that maybe I don't want to necessarily spend 90 minutes on what is going to be a subpar meal. Maybe I just want to go ahead, get something quick to eat, and keep on with the rest of my day. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. And to Culture's point, like the inflation. I mean, this. I think this chart is huge, because it's like, look, the number one thing that people are cutting out just to afford housing is travel and your vacations. Number one, by 35%. Also, too, they talk about how in this presentation, they talk about the basically the 5 times that guests reach into their wallet in which to pay for their vacation. Number 1, tickets. 2, transportation. That's, airplane, cars, everything like that. 3, lodging, hotels. 4, dining. And 5, merch. And they do acknowledge this isn't just affecting dining, but it's also affecting the merchandise and revenue side of the business. So I thought that was really kind of interesting. The places where people are going to skimp, probably going to be 4 and 5. And they acknowledge that openly right here. But, and Casual, I want to go to you again here. You recently went to, you went through the harrowing experience of actually, getting a reservation at, what was it, Lamplight Lounge. You finally got everybody in there. And then you figure out some of the iconic items on the menu are no longer there. Please, can you share our experience on this whole thing?
Yeah, it was the kind of thing, we went to DCA. It was my son's birthday. We had tried to make reservations. We didn't get there in time to, get a reservation before the day. So we opted, well, we'll see what we can get, day of. As we were walking into DCA, Mrs. Casual was able to get us a spot, a reservation at the lounge, which is a separate section of Lamplight Lounge. It's like the outdoor bar area.
Right.
So we got seated there, looked at the menu, and the item that my son really wanted were the Kung Pao Bao buns. And they weren't on the menu. So we said, you know what, we're not going to eat here. We'll go and see if we could do walk up over at the main restaurant. So we went over, did walk up at the main restaurant. We were only waiting about 35 minutes, got seated, brought us the menus. And again, the Kung Pao were not on the menu. They had been taken off the menu. And literally my son was like, I kind of don't really even want to bother eating here now. But we just, stuck it out and did it because we were already there, already seated and whatnot. The second time getting seated. So that was just, one of the factors in that, like I said, we haven't gone back since. You have these signature items that people like. And I understand, menus have to change, that you can't, just leave it the same way the whole time. But, that's one factor.
And I understand what you're saying, and that might be true for the regular restaurant business, but I think for theme parks, you're known for signature dishes at those restaurants.
I agree. I don't know why they would have chosen to get rid of them. It's kind of a mystery. I don't know if it's a supplier thing, if they were like moving stuff around because San Francisco was coming in, so they were going to put more of the Asian fusion stuff or whatever over there. I don't know, but I agree. It's kind of like it's like Blue Bayou. They used to have way back when they had a New York steak sandwich. That was my go-to. I would be back at Blue Bayou probably much. Honestly, I haven't been to Blue Bayou in years, but I would probably go back just for that steak sandwich.
Well, okay, so and I'll relay that when you go to Victoria and Albert's or someplace like that, on the Florida property. There are staples there that if they change, I think a lot of people who go there regularly are going to flip their lid. But you're right. It's been happening, and not just in California. It's been happening in Florida and other places. And look, they refuse to understand their audience and to acquiesce to what they want. And I think that may be one of the reasons why they're suffering in the food department. But the expense, it can't be denied. Did you realize that a Big Mac meal just at McDonald's, I'm not even talking Disney, at McDonald's is like $15.49 now?
It's ridiculous.
Somebody paid something stupid for a foot-long sandwich, and they said in my chat today, I'm like, you paid $15 for a foot-long sandwich at Subway? And so, you're seeing this, right? But do you know one of the things, and this is, you both are Knott's Berry folks. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the food experience at Knott's. Right? Completely different.
It is completely different. When you go to Knott's Berry Farm, your portions are bigger. The food, and I'm not saying that Disney food's not good, but you have a variety of food, a lot more variety of food, I think, at Knott's Berry Farm. And what I like is they try to incorporate, the whole boysenberry theme into their food. And but they also do a good job of just, keeping the portion size. There are times when obviously we haven't had some good experiences, but most of the time, we have a good food, good experiences. And especially if you get like the dining plan, oh my goodness, the dining plan is amazing, at Knott's Berry Farm. It's well worth your money.
Yeah, I agree. I can speak to that myself. Casual.
Yeah, and let's not sugarcoat it too much, because Knott's did have to get rid of their flank steak sandwich from Fireman's Barbecue. So there are things that and that one, I believe it's probably just it's the economics of it. They just could not offer that at a price that the clientele was willing to pay. Because it was already I think it was either $19 or $21.99, before it was removed from the menu. Mm-hmm. I could just imagine, there's nobody that's going to go to Knott's and pay, $28, $29 for a steak sandwich.
True.
Yeah.
I think it's going back to the whole, Kung Pao, the Kung Pao, what do they call it? Kung Pao.
Kung Pao Bao.
Bun.
Thank you, Bao. So I thought it was interesting because, when they discontinued it, and I was really disappointed when, Theme Park Casual told me that they discontinued it. Then what happens to pop up on the Lunar New Year menu? But the Kung Pao Bao, but it wasn't the regular Kung Pao Bao. It was a plant-based Kung Pao Bao. And it looked more like a little, how they do the plant-based like chicken. It was like that, crumbles instead of like the big pork belly slices you see right there. It was not bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't the actual same thing. But I was wondering, did they take it away so people would go to Lunar New Year and actually buy that? But then they haven't seemed to bring it back to Lamplight Lounge at all as far as that goes. So it's really weird how they make these decisions, because I will tell you, my two staples at Lamplight Lounge were the Kung Pao Bao, and then obviously the pork, which is the I can't even think of anything today. Come on, Casual, help me out here.
The pork chop?
The what?
The pork chop?
Yeah, it's a pork chop.
Yeah, the pork chop.
What's
pork
it called?
Chop, I think Al Pastor or something like that.
Al Pastor pork chop.
I can't remember for sure, but that's something like that.
That's it. I just can't remember anything today. But those two are amazing. Now I only have one amazing dish that I really like.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. You got your lobster nacho still and things like that. But my two staples were those two things. And my favorite was the Kung Pao Bao, and now they don't have it. So
it's pretty silly. But again, I mean, in the Florida, you're suffering the same problem. Food is just way too expensive for what you get. And, Vash points out that thanks to Miss McCarthy, we get to cinch up our belts a bit. But Disney should cinch up their belts and try to deliver more to their customers than they're offering, because it truly is disgusting, frustrating, lots of other adjectives that, convey the same point.
Well, one of the other things I was going to say too is because, Casino or Culture Casino brought up the fact that, it's a cost thing too. So you have other options besides going to eat at the Disney parks, right? I mean, you have Downtown Disney, and Downtown Disney, you got Earl's sandwiches, and so much more inexpensive, and you get a good meal. You also have Napolini, which it's kind of like Blaze Pizza, where you make your own pizza there, and it's really good price, and you get a decent sized pizza. So there's other options besides that. So when you have these issues of not being able to get into the restaurant, or maybe it's too expensive, or they don't have what you want, well, now you have other options outside. Now, granted, they're on Disney property, but you pay a lot less money, and you get some pretty good food. So,
well, there are lovely options, in Florida specifically, because their version of Downtown Disney is very nice. Disney Springs, you can get in there, and you have all these off Disney proper property. It's still Disney property, but you have all these, and you have these signature chefs. You have these great options. I still like Guy Fieri's chicken guy. It's just wonderful to eat at. I mean, and there's right across from that is one of the famous chefs. I always forget his name, but he's got a place over there that's kind of a fusion food itself, and it's delicious and not as expensive as going to one of the Disney restaurants. It's just cheaper, and they know they own you. That you're captive if you're in the theme park, but it might be worth scheduling your meals at times when the park is at its peak attendance, and then go travel off site to eat, because it's just cheaper.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, though, scheduling, right? When it comes to the Disney app, I mean, the Disney app, I like it because it can be really helpful, but sometimes it's not. It's changed a lot, too, ever since, like, I would say before the pandemic, not a lot of people were using it. And then after the pandemic, they were trying to get more people to use it. People started using it a lot more, obviously. But then you have some, issues with the, app as well. Some things are great, and some things are not, obviously. But, that factors into, okay, where am I going? What am I doing? And I think sometimes when the app doesn't work, or you're not able to order what you want, or you have a time frame that doesn't work for you. So, for example, just recently I was over at DCA, and I looked over to the side, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do a mobile order and get some food and get some beer. And I looked at the line and went, wait a minute, it's telling me on here I have to wait a half hour for a mobile order, where I can go stand in line and get my food and my beer in like 5 minutes. that's crazy better. So I'll do that. And so that's some of the issues you find too, is that, you order something and you can't get it when you want it on the mobile app, or you have to wait longer. And so sometimes that's a good and a bad thing.
Well, mobile ordering to me is incredibly annoying because it ties up valuable resources in the restaurant when you actually have an active crowd that's there and ready to pay, eat, whatnot. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, let's expand that conversation out and get to mobile ordering in a big way here, because I think it's going to be very instructive for us. Just want to get to two things, and I'll go right back to you, Culture. One, Chicken Guy reducing those sauces down from 22 to 10 recently, so not as amazing as it once was.
Then that might be true, but a little bit of pushback on that.
Sure, please.
You have to pick out what the most popular things are.
Yeah,
it's just like,
right.
When you go into a cheesecake factory and the menu has 220 items on it, nobody's going to order any of those items consistently. And you're maintaining, product in your valuable refrigerator, freezer space as a restaurant, and your fresh items to make up all these dishes. Perhaps there's a more economical way to operate, which, you have fewer dishes that are staples that, take care of everybody's needs for the most part. Those onesie twosie that come in every day. So when it comes to these sauces, I'm just talking about the efficiency of the restaurant business.
Right.
There, those other 12 sauces, I mean, how many a day do you think they actually sold, moved, whatnot?
Yeah. And it's a very good point. But you know who will always be picked? Culture.
Oh.
Mr. Lou Wasserman's Ghost right
me?
here.
Well, I was a little delayed,
Yes.
but I heard you talking about food. I had to be here.
Oh, yeah. So, well, hey, I understand, Lou. By the way, we had some good eats over at your place, actually, in the lead up to
Great
Hollywood
little
Complete.
Chinese joint in my neighborhood did us proud for
Absolutely.
less than a cost of a Disney meal, I guarantee. But as far as those sauces and things and specialty items, first of all, just like we said, they did a market research or a focus group to come up with 60 billion for the expansion as a number, and then well, what do we spend it on, rather than this is what we want to build, this is what it's going to cost. Somebody decided 22 sounded impressive and opened the restaurant that way, and then they came up with 22. But that doesn't mean you're going to sustain that, and they're certainly going to cut it down to the 10 or however many are most popular. But restaurants, I always talk about movie budgeting not being rocket science, there being a history. Restaurants have all of that too. I remember a wonderful place in Marina Del Rey, a Cafe Del Rey, that a friend of mine was the chef, another friend was the manager. And when he did a special, something oddball off the menu that not a lot of people eat, especially in California. For example, he had this amazing venison dish. But that's venison, and California is not exactly the home of lots of venison eaters. So the question becomes, it's not a cheap ingredient. How many portions do you plan for? Answer, he had the computer with the records of every time he had done a venison dish for the last 2 years and came up with 22 as the right number of portions to buy without them being wasted. So there are ways of monitoring, tracking these things and planning accordingly, but doesn't mean everybody's smart enough to do it. And as I was saying just before I came in here, I mentioned that you carried today that story that Red Lobster just closing 50 locations across the country. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot compared to how many they've got. But if regular old chain restaurants that have economies of scale and efficiency built into the fact that a lot of their things come out of central commissaries and a lot of their ordering is in very big bulk to cut down costs, if they can't stay open at their prices, get the same meal or worse for 20 or 30% more just because you walked through the gates and paid $150, $200 for the privilege of doing so. No wonder they can't sustain. No wonder they can't sustain. And what you guys said about scheduling. If I'm going to stand in line for half an hour because I'm tied to that mobile ordering or even to a reservation, that's half an hour I'm not riding rides. That's half an hour I'm not doing all the other stuff I came there to do. So maybe I'd rather have a big breakfast on the way, a couple of snacks, and call it a day. I think I told you, Culture, when you were going to Vegas recently, that I found out that the time when they changed from the lunch price to the dinner price at the buffet at the Bellagio was 4 p.m. What's the difference? The dinner, they bring out the big king crab legs. That's largely the difference. So the trick was, once you're in, to go in about 3:45, pay the lunch price, and get the dinner food once they bring it out. So if people can game all this stuff, you got to be smarter than the average bear on the other side to make it work.
Well, it's funny you say that, Lou, but I'll say this: when I travel now, I get accommodations that has a full kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I make my own food.
Mm-hmm.
It's healthier, much easier.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
I
it's
agree.
on your own time. And when you're done with the park and you're tired and you're hungry, you don't have to stop someplace and pay. You go back to the room and, take off your clothes and be comfy and make something. I understand that.
Bear Place 28, you had something to say?
No, I was just agreeing with Culture Casino because we're going to Vegas at the end of the month for Memorial Day weekend, and we're staying off the strip, and we're staying in a place that has a kitchenette and where we can make breakfast and make lunch, and then if we want to go out for dinner, we can, and we just kick it at the resort and just have a good time.
Or what I do with all those places is I have a nice lunch in the fancy restaurant, which is always cheaper than dinner.
Yes.
They claim it's lower portions, but no, it's not. Not really, not substantially. And then just snack for dinner, if at all.
Somebody has a comment right here. It's 3:05 p.m. ET, and Disney IT is absolute garbage. I wish we could have Lorena come on here and actually describe her experiences. Oh, wait, we can. It's Lorena, your favorite Floridian. How is everything going with you, Lorena? I missed you so much.
I missed you guys too. Things are going well. The afternoon thunderstorms are back here in Florida. We just had a massive one about an hour and a half ago.
Or as Disney World calls them, the slicker sellers. They sell those cheap plastic slickers everywhere.
Yeah, here they go. Boom.
Yes, boom.
$10 a pop.
Yeah,
that's right. We got a shower curtain with your name on it.
Lorena, we
Mickey,
are
Bath,
talking
and
about
beyond.
Yeah, exactly right. We're talking about something that's pretty slick here. We're talking about Disney and how, in official documentation, interestingly enough, they are admitting that table service restaurant sales are down, and that they are attributing that to time, because obviously people are looking to get more done in less time than ever before, and efficiency is key. But I think, Lorena, you had some more to say on this that wasn't necessarily attached to time, or maybe it was. I don't know. Go ahead, take the floor. It is yours.
Before I say something, let's just say that going to the Disney dining locations, the sit-down dining locations, was a big part of the trips for my family. So that was something we loved to do. We looked forward to the meals because, if anything, we could get away from people in the heat of the day and just kind of chill, relax, and have a great meal. This line that Disney is feeding you is what Culture Casino would say, complete and total baloney sausage. Because over the years, especially for those of us who are foodies at theme parks, we have noticed a decline in the degrees year after year after year over not only the type of food that's given, the cuts of meat that are given, the more restrictions that are placed on you if you're using the dining plan, what you can choose and what you cannot choose from. The decor, the service, it's nowhere near what it used to be, to the point now where there are probably, on one hand, I can tell you the number of restaurants that are still worth your time, and how more people are actually going to, for case in point, Art of Animation has my absolute favorite food court. Why? Price, variety, quality, and I go there, and a lot of other people go there. People who, like me, who we can afford to go to the Polynesian, we can afford to go to, the Yachtsman. We can afford to go to some of these places, but the value isn't there. So you have these food courts that are giving you really, really great value, lots of variety, and you don't have to pay that much. And you can get your food, you're in there, get your food, and you're out.
And it occurs to me, if you look at the table service places and you look at the ones that are sold as part of a package, for example, we have done at Disneyland the Fantasmic and Dinner at the Blue Bayou deal, right? Or we've done Candlelight and the Japanese place because it's a close walk. Now, the show you're going to see is a given. In other words, whether you paid for the super duper seating or not as part of the package, it doesn't cost Disney anymore. And what are they giving you? In the case of the one at Fantasmic, I don't know if I showed it to you when you were here, Vash. They give you these lovely $1.98 seat cushions with the logo of the Blue Bayou on one side and Fantasmic on the other. But that doesn't even cost them much. The only part of that package where they've got an investment is in that food. So if they can find a way to cut a buck or two of food cost or service or something out of that, man, that's free money. That is absolutely free money.
You're talking in my wheelhouse because I became increasingly frustrated with Disney's capitalize on every square inch of space at every single moment when they started having dessert parties.
Yes.
For things, and I'm like, this is so valueless. If you knew as a customer going in just how little this has to offer outside of being, unencumbered by others, pushing you about when you're looking for fireworks or for parades or whatnot. But, I had to change the word I was going to use because we're on YouTube. But the biggest problem I have is that there is no investment in anything other than those desserts. And those things are at max. Every single thing that you're offered is about $2 to $3. That's it.
And it's coming out of the central bakery or dessert shop that's handling everything else in the park anyway.
Yeah, it's not coming from the the pastry chefs over at the Grand Floridian or something like that, or the Animal Kingdom Lodge, because their food and beverage is just amazing. They have these dessert parties with stuff that literally you could get from like Target and put together yourself. And that's a dessert party, but yet they're going to charge you $120 a head. At least that's what they are this year for the dessert party at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which I tell people do not even bother doing that dessert party. It's ridiculous. For what you get, there is nothing outstanding about it.
I will tell you the one thing I did get at one of the first of those they ever did, and that was up at the balcony at the apartment over Pirates, to watch Fantasmic. And they did a dessert thing there. And that was the night I proposed, and she accepted my wife. So I didn't just get the eclairs and the chocolate-covered strawberries and the coffee and the tea and Fantasmic. So that was a bonus. And I remember it was around $40 a head. So those were the days, 27 years ago. But otherwise, when I saw where they were doing that to watch the fireworks from the upper level of the Carousel of Progress building or something like that a couple of years ago, I thought, what's the big deal, what about when they had those cabana things in Tomorrowland? Remember? Oh, God,
Cabanas in Tomorrowland?
Yeah, they had little to have I don't remember the details, but you tell them, Vash. You remember what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely I do. I'm going to look up the article just in a second right here. There were cabanas that they put up in Tomorrowland. I believe, I want to say that this is at Walt Disney World, but it could have been in other places. And for, I don't know, $150 an hour, you could have a cabana right there in a theme park. And unfortunately, it was a little bit, I think, classist. At least the visual of it, the optics didn't look all that great. So
carrying torches around the outside as you were sitting in there, right? But,
oh boy, I will find the article real fast. But I've got about 4 super chats that I just want to get into, and then I'm going to throw it right back into the panel. I swear right here. But Samuel Maine, with the $3 super sticker. Thank you so much. I can't see on StreamYard. I don't know why, but your super sticker is greatly appreciated anyway. Thank you so much, Samuel. And WWE Pro with $4.99 super chat right here. Now, this is a show I can get behind. Yes, I do agree there, Pro. We have, I think this is the greatest panel ever, by the way, because we have so much theme park knowledge combined here. It's amazing, honestly. And I think if we put all our rings together, I think we do get a WW Pro. Let's see. Graph Web with a $2 super chat. Hashtag cancel Disney Plus. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be doing that for sure as the company drifts further and further. That is absolutely the case. Butterbrisket 92 with a $5 super chat, sending a super chat just because. Congrats on monetization. Thank you. Yeah, we just achieved monetization, I believe, last week, which was absolutely great. And that allows us to do so much more here on this channel and others. You have no idea. So thank you so much, everybody that has either done a super chat or has subscribed or liked or done anything to support this channel. Thank you, because all that support is greatly appreciated. I want to go ahead and kick it over to a couple of pictures that I found in my collection right here. Fantastic is on the way back to Disneyland officially. I believe the date is, May 28th, I think is what that date is. Maybe casual, you can correct me on that if I am wrong, but I think that's what it is. But you can see right here, you see this, you see how people are starting to line up for Fantasmic. This was I believe last year or so. You can see how many people are attempting to line up. But then if you look beyond, you see all that just empty space right there along the river's edge. That space isn't empty because nobody is interested in those spots. I can assure you of that. Those spaces are empty because all of that seating capacity is reserved specifically for these dining packages that we're talking about today, folks. Yeah. Blue Bayou, Hungry Bear, and I believe River Terrace is also in that as well.
And I think when we did it, you see those people standing right in the middle that are probably cast people? There's a few steps there. We at least got on the steps, so we had a little bit of elevation over the people sitting in front of us. But
well, the ground is graded in a way that you should be. If everybody's seated on those squishy pads they give you with that package, you should be able to see fairly decently, and unless you have like a shack sitting in front of you or something like that. But
or people brawling or all the other crazy stuff that goes on. But
it is unfortunate that this is kind of a pay to play event now for these events. And
everything
supposed to be part of but they were supposed to be part of the entry. Disney is no longer the one ticket price thing that they were. Again, it comes down to loss of value, which we've been talking about the whole time. The meals are worth less. The tickets are worth less. Your experience is much less, and it costs you all that much more. So anyway, I sound very grumpy. Get off my lawn. So I'm going to shut up.
No, Culture. I mean, I have to agree with you on that, because I've told this story numerous times, that one of the things that I loved as a kid about going to the Magic Kingdom at night was when they did the fireworks. You could grab yourself a spot at the Tomorrowland Terrace or out there, in the Plaza Gardens. You got there first, you grabbed your spot, sent somebody to go get food, and they come back, and you had a great spot to watch the fireworks, especially over in Tomorrowland Terrace. I mean, it was perfect, So you could go there. It was included in the part, admission. First come, first serve. You got there, got your spot. They had this. Sometimes they'd have people that come by to sell like popcorn and all that other stuff, where you come and get it. But now it's all paywalled. You've got the dessert party, you've got the Plaza Garden blocked off. You've got Tomorrowland Terrace, blocked off now. And all of that used to be included and added value, because you got a great spot to watch, the fireworks. The only thing you needed to spend was time. But again, now all that stuff is paywalled, and it's very frustrating. It really is, especially to families who are on a budget, who already had to pay I don't know how much money, by now to get in, and you're asking people to pay extra for this.
This Phantasmic that you're seeing on screen right here. I mean, you're talking about a 6,000 to 9,000 seat venue right here, and to have 80%. I'm not joking, folks. 80% of this, especially, I mean, all of the primo seats for sure, all of the decent seats to have
For the first
to be
show,
taken
anyway.
up in
The
this
second
manner.
show, I don't think it's many.
Yeah, I think they do adjust based on demand, everything else, especially for that second show. But it's wrong to strip an experience like this away from the regular paying guests and put it behind a paywall. At least, unless you want to camp out for 6 hours and try to get one of the remaining seats on the side of the bank right there. You can see right here, Lorena. We weren't wrong. I'll look inside the $650 a day Kingdom Cabanas at the Magic Kingdom right here. This is Mike from Blog Mickey writing up this. This was back in November 26, 2016. So this is almost 10 years ago.
So imagine what that was.
People remember.
If they were still doing it, carry it forward for inflation, and you're talking what, $800, $1,000 a day?
So you're basically glamping in Tomorrowland.
What they're doing is, well, you know what it is? It's like those executive suites at Epcot for employees of the various sponsor companies. Only the thing is, you're smack dab in the middle of the world of all the plebeians are out there right outside the door, for God's sake.
Because I would be looking. I'm just saying.
Yeah, why aren't there like 50 people outside, hanging at the windows, the outside looking in?
Coke, yeah.
But,
Well,
and it
I
did.
just realized I was muted.
Surprise.
I just realized I was muted. I was going to say, this is a really weird way to glamp. This is a very strange glamp.
Very.
I left my glamp beside the mountain space.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some high-end beach property locations around the globe, resorts that I would spring for a cabana at just to have like some escape area, maybe a chance to take a shower.
Yeah, or the Vegas pools often have them.
True, but those are really not worth it. I mean, you're literally 5 minutes from your room, but I look at that. It's like, I'm sorry, these are nothing special, and they're
the beach
temporary.
resorts. You get drinks with it. I mean, real drinks.
No, are you kidding? You get bartender service. Oftentimes, it comes with it. You just tip like crazy, and they'll serve you 3 meals in one of these. I mean, depending upon how long you've just elected to have it. So, but I just can't.
Again, when you're sitting in there, you're not out buying merch. You're not out standing in line. You're not out enjoying attractions. You're just oh boy,
hang on.
Potato chips.
Hang on, scroll back up a second. I think they're pulling like stuff that you would normally see on the cruise ships, like the art there and some other things. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love these circular IKEA tables. Those are fantastic.
Yeah, well,
the cheap blue, is that tarp or what is? I see blue and I think tarp.
Yeah,
it's shower curtains, like you said.
No, and look, I see there were some comments in the chat like, are there cabana boys or girls included? No, this isn't that kind of island resort.
No.
Yeah. Just saying.
Did I ever tell you my story about the concierge floor at the Contemporary regarding that subject? Ask me sometime.
Let me tell you, the club level of any of those resorts is adventure.
Oh, yeah. I got stories.
Well, the turn down, for your bed was a kind of a little card in the shape of the Contemporary. When you opened it, it was all dark blue with a little half moon, and it said, "When your heart is in your dream, no request is too extreme." And I thought, could you send Snow White over, please?
Goodness gracious,
my
Luke,
luck,
come
you would have
on.
sent Rachel. Anyway.
Sweet evening with the dark chocolates and everything.
Yeah.
It was a wine carafe full of milk and cookies. That's what they gave you. Anyway.
Oh man, those were the days, I suppose. Casual. I know you have an interesting history with Phantasmic yourself. Do you want to share a little bit of that for the crowd? Because I don't want to go too negative. I want to highlight how magical these experiences could be.
Yeah.
Well, I have Phantasmic. I've always said it changed the course of my life twice. And the first time was seeing it in 1992. I was working at Target at the time, working my way up already. Saw Phantasmic and said, I'm going back to school. I'm going to do something in art. I want to do that. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So went back to school, got into graphic design, all of that. Ended up working at an ad agency, and then met a young lady there who was interested in going to Disneyland one day with me. And we went, and she said she had never seen Phantasmic. So I told her, you've got to see Phantasmic. This was before dining packages. So I said, we'll go to the second show so we could get a better view. But my plan was we're going to be over on the Haunted Mansion side at the end of the first show, and then we'll swoop in right when everybody's leaving and get front row for the second show and just kind of sit there and wait for it. So as we're cruising through on our way to Haunted Mansion, first show was going on, and I could see her, trying to, peek around everybody and try to see what's going on with the show. So I tell her, I say, here, hold my arm and just go where I'm leading you, and you'll be able to see, you'll be able to see the show. So she's holding onto my arm, walking behind me, and she's, peeking at the show. And I turn and look back, and she's there on her tippy toes trying to peek over everybody. And that's when suddenly I saw her in a different way. And she ended up becoming Mrs. Casual. So
Wow.
Phantasmic, it's I've always said it's worth the price of admission. It is an incredible show, unlike anything else.
I engaged my wife at it too, so we both have a common romantic history with. This is speaking as somebody who was older and hadn't found the right person. Some imagination, huh?
So yeah, I mean, but then we're looking at the value proposition of these table services. If you could get front row for Phantasmic without having to wait the 6, 7, possibly more hours, and leaving somebody there with the blanket, while everybody else goes and rides the rides, come back, switch up. If you could do that, that's where the value is. And you'll notice that the Phantasmic dining packages are gone.
Yeah.
So table service may be down, but when you add a value to it, people will snap it up in seconds. Because the Pixar Parade little dessert package, you could get that anytime you want. It's still available.
It's
I
an
would have to agree
economic.
with you on that. Sorry, Culture. I mean,
No, go ahead. Go.
Over at Walt Disney World, Phantasmic is the only dining package that I'll just pay for because the show is amazing. Where you get to sit, it's it's a great spot. So it's actually worth it because every night there is like that 5, 6, 7 if you want to hour wait to try to get in without a reservation.
Of course, it's a set theater built for the show there, as opposed to Disneyland, where it was adapted from the river.
Right.
In fact, I was in a press junket for the grand opening at Disneyland, and got to go down underneath where all the pumps are and the projections come from, and all those lifts and things. And it was a dangerous show. If you weren't in the right place at the right time when that stage went up, you were going to have one leg on the ground and one leg in midair. But what was funny was for the big press event, the whole thing happened. Do you remember when famously Elizabeth Taylor rented out the park for Michael Jackson's birthday and the whole park closed? That was like 2 weeks before. So Eisner's up there in front of everybody reading kind of like a bad version of the dedication of Disneyland a la Walt, off of like 5x7 oversized cards, intentionally being very stilted. We'd like to bring you this wonderful, and suddenly from the back, they had a wonderful actress as Maleficent. Wait a minute, Mr. Eisner, you can't have an enchanted show without a sorceress. And she bustles through and he says, Maleficent, you? And she says, you were expecting maybe that Taylor woman again? And it just fractured, these hard, cynical journalist types that were there to poke fun at it. And it was marvelous. It was fantastic. I do remember that the film is a special heavy-duty plastic emulsion because the speed at which it goes through those projectors is pretty fast. And the film is so tough that rather than the film breaking, they were having trouble with the sprockets on the projectors breaking off the sprocket wheels because the film was tougher than they were. So, and then even then they had to replace it every 6, 7 weeks, something like that. So it was a big investment and it was a big deal. And of course, in Europe, they'd all seen Son et Lumière forever at Versailles and all those chateaus in the Loire and the Colosseum, but never in America before they did this show. So it was special. It was special. Still is.
The show is very incredible. I still prefer the Rivers version of it than the stadium version of it. I don't feel like that's,
I've seen both, so I agree with your culture, especially the dragon part.
Yeah,
we had friends come out from Florida who hadn't gone there yet, and they were so amazing. They were big Disney fans. But during the Pink Elephants on Parade thing, there's that part where they say pachyderms, and later my friend said, "Why did he say bag of dirt?" He heard it differently.
Not quite that. Yeah.
For sure. It's just to key off on a couple of things that you guys were saying. This is the amazing lift that they use to lift Mickey immediately. And yes, you can see how it's chained off, and you can see it's surrounded by plexiglass now. It's because it's so fast, it'll take your limb off, and it won't check before it does. So, and you can see this amphitheater. Now, this is... they were doing refurbishment work, so the river isn't there, but you can see the difference in setup from this and Disneyland, where it's a part of the atmosphere of the actual river itself on the west side. So it's a I am fascinated with the production of Fantasmic and how it works and how it interacts. I think it's just an amazing show. And if I wasn't clear before, May 24th, sorry. If I said May 28th, I do apologize. May 24th is when the show
10 days from now, it's coming back.
And one note for everybody, for the viewers, if you are going to Disneyland and you don't want to do the dining package and you're going to see the second show, hang out over toward Tiana's Palace. And then just before showtime, like about 5 minutes before showtime, if there's room where the dining package area is, they'll just open it up and everybody can go in. So
when we showed you those roped off areas, you don't get a reserved seat within that area. You just get in that area and you find where you want to be. So maybe the term front row is a little misleading as far as what you get with the dining package, but still, that's the place to be. And if you have a choice, try and figure out where the projectors are, those big fans of water that they project onto, and be square on them. It's like people, real fanatics like me, and I'll bet like Culture, when you go see an IMAX movie, you figure out you want to be in the middle and you want to be about halfway up, halfway down so that you get the most light coming back at you as opposed to seeing it from an angle. So,
well, and I think we've all been talking about how this is about value and whatnot. And I think that, there are other ways to actually see these shows. You can still see them. Many times they have two shows, like two parades and two World of Colors or two Fantasmics or whatever the show may be at each of the Disney parks. And if how to get there. I mean, obviously, some of us like theme park casual, and Lorraine and I are theme park streamers, so we know exactly where to go and where we don't have to pay. But many times, these people who are actually paying the extra money for these dining packages and they think they're getting these extra great spots, sometimes they're just letting people into those spots if they don't get enough people that purchase the packages, or there's a lot of room available. And so you get to go fill in. I mean, unfortunately, Theme Park Casual and I have a friend, Courtney in California. She's a streamer also, and she did one of the parade packages, and she got the dining plan and everything, and then they lined them up in this one area, and she's like, great, this is where we're all going to be. And then all of a sudden they ushered in all these people right next to her or behind her, and they didn't pay for the dining pack. And she was like, oh, that was not worth it. That's not a good value. So there's ways to do it. The great thing is all these shows are wonderful to watch. It's just, how do you plan on watching it, and how do you want to watch it? I mean, if you think it's a value to you and doing the dining plan is great, then do it by all means. Sometimes it is, and if it's not, then
it depends on where you're dining too. I mean, I'll have to say the dinner at the Blue Bayou when we did this last time was still pretty darn good, and the service was excellent, and it was a happy experience. There we go. That's my seat pads, folks. That's the one side and the other side. We got two, of course, because we had two butts to sit on them, and that's what they give you, and that's our souvenirs. But anyway.
Well, there you go. There you go. We have a couple more super chats I just want to run through, and then I'll throw it right on back right here. First up, we have Disney Fan 55, $10. Thank you so much, Mom. Thank you for throwing us a roll. Looks like. Oh wait, yeah, that was the old. That was what they used to say back in Blue Bayou. Blue Bayou is very interesting in Disneyland because it butts up right against literally boats passing you by on Pirates of the Caribbean nearby. And what is the bayou out there?
Blue Bayou.
So
I've told you, my family was dining there one time when the ride shut down because it had a problem, and they turned on the lights. I mean, you were like in a bad soundstage warehouse all of a sudden instead of that romantic atmosphere. But the one thing they didn't turn off were the bug and bird noises. And we had just started dinner. That was a long night of sitting in a warehouse infested with pests.
Wow.
you can see right here in this image, you can see just how close the boats are. Oh, well, let me just get that on screen. There you go. You can see how close the boats are in relation to the dining out there. So people passing by used to say, "Hey, throw us a roll," when back when they had bread service. So it was that was quite charming. Back
And then I remember when they had, I think it was 3 or 4 girls in antebellum dresses with violins who were on the stairway and would play music to you during dinner. And it was pretty special.
That is a better time for sure, right there. Theme park casual, what are you doing? What are you doing donating here? Well, thank you so much, kind sir. For $5, says for the good-looking one in the black shirt. Aw, well, thank you. I think Barry Place is also good.
I think we're all in black shirts. So
I guess that's our uniform, right?
Well, for those of you who don't know Lou's watchword, Lou Wasserman famously said, "Stay out of the spotlight; it'll fade your suit."
Yep,
so,
This is true.
Which I thought was good advice that Big Bob doesn't take. Of course, his other famous watchword was, "To err is human; to forgive is against company policy." So,
There you go.
it's amazing. It's amazing. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, LW and Casual, of course. Guess my grants, $4.99. Thank you so much for donating once again here to this channel. I really do appreciate it right here. It says just priced out a 4-day trip in June for a family of 4 to Walt Disney World. Value Resort, standard room, 4-day park hopper tickets, quick service dining plan, $4,700. Whoa,
That's about right. I remember when it was $3,000, and that was the thing that Disney would tout. Bring your whole family. $3,000. You can even stay at the value.
Lorena.
I was just going to say, if you go searching articles way back on the That Park Place website, I did one about a good travel YouTuber who did a comparison and found that from JFK Airport, it was cheaper to spend a week in a private villa in Bali, including airfare and everything, than it was to go to Disney World. So,
well, real quick. I mean, one of the things I used to advise people of when they went to Disney was per person to take X amount of dollars per person just to eat. That number is ridiculous now.
Yeah.
Because you need about, as if you're not going to any kind of fancy restaurant, just a quick service or maybe a fast table service location or whatever, like Satuli's or whatever, in Avatar, Pandora. You need $150 a day minimum just to eat basic meals per person.
That is accurate.
And that's without a couple of $16 balloons.
Well, yeah, the balloons are extra. I know, but it's getting worse and worse. So when I advise people that are going to go on trips, I'm like, okay, you understand you're going to eat as much as a theme park ticket every day for each person. So when you throw in the quick service dining plan, you're at least getting off on a couple decent meals and some snacks and sodas and such if you're into sodas.
Not as many snacks as there used to be.
No, your snack prices are way
remember
less.
when Magic Bands first started, and they said each kid can get one, and they don't have to come running to you for money. They can just go get an ice cream cone or whatever. And suddenly people got to the end of their stay and looked at the bill and said, "We bought what?"
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Do you remember that one of the benefits that they tried to sell us on with Magic Bands was that you wouldn't ever have to show an ID or anything else.
I broke that the first day I got there.
Yeah, that's bologna sausage. You still have to carry that stuff around. But even in California now, I mean, a lot of the things that you would expect aren't there anymore. I always try to. I know that we're trying to keep it positive here right now, but it's just we have to acknowledge that there's value lost. Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure my fellow former or current Californians in the vicinity remember that when Disney was still doing the ticket books, Pacific Ocean Park, which is the pier in Santa Monica, Venice, suddenly rebranded themselves as Pay One Price, POP, because they were trying to say, see, you don't have to buy all those damn tickets. And it was a flat fee and you got everything. So.
Well, there you go. There you go. Lorena here with the $2. Thank you so much. Man, y'all are so generous. Even the panel's generous. My goodness gracious. Some of my makeup money for this amazing channel. Oh, thank you so much right here. Just to let you know, Lorena, you don't need an ounce of it. At least makeup that is, but I do appreciate you siphoning off a little bit of that for us. Thank you.
I paid mine in sweet and sour pork, I think. So
yes,
anyway.
Yes, he did. Sorry, Casual, you were going to say?
No, I didn't have anything. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you get a chance to meet Lorena in person, you will be like, wow, she is even more beautiful in person. So there you go. Yeah.
Fantastic. I cannot wait for that to occur. Might be happening sooner than you think. The Gilkman for $20. Thank you so much for the huge super chat. Thank you. Much love to Lorena, theme park, and Psy, I guess, culture. Keep being amazing, all of you. Hail to the panel going to Walt Disney World in the next 5 years. Can't wait. Thank you so much.
Was kind of and Culture Casino as the beaver comment, right?
It does seem like Jerry Mathers got the short end of the stick every episode. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Very, very true. Very, very true. The Space Day 2000. Thank you so much for the Canadian $5 right here. Thank you so much. For sure, Disney is turning into a conversation about remember when instead of building new great moments. Yeah, it's a clear statement on Disney product / leadership. I don't disagree with you, Space Dave. I think it really is sad that we keep on going back to a time when they were really. I just felt like they were hungrier than now, and they're taking especially their domestic parks line definitely a little bit more for granted than they used to. That's really, really unfortunate. But hey, you know what? There's still fun to be had there, but it's just it's getting harder and harder to justify. That is for sure. Real quickly, I know we're kind of wrapping up here. Got about a little under 20 minutes, but I want to have this conversation really fast. Merchandise apparently is also suffering from its COVID place in terms of the market trends and guest trends and so forth. Apparently, from what they are pointing out is, yes, that guest mix has changed. They talk about having to, advertise heavily to Gen Z, but also Gen M and Gen X should also be included in that conversation because, well, you have multiple generations of families who visit Walt Disney World, especially together. But what they're saying, and it's kind of similar to what we were seeing on dining, that people they're running through these stores in a way that they simply didn't before. What do you all think that's all about? Do you think merchandise is down because of this, or in your experience, has time been affected there, or is it price? Please let us know.
Well, I'll start off by, as an example, yesterday I did a live stream over at Marvel Superhero Island at Universal, and it seemed like everywhere I went, I wanted to spend money on merchandise. It's just like, shut up and take my money from like all this merch that I wanted to buy. Disney over the past couple of years, it's like the merchandise hasn't been as innovative or indispensable as it used to be. It didn't give you, like that feeling in the back of your brain where like, I gotta have it. Even if I got to look through, the seats in my car to find change to get this merchandise. And it's like, you don't really have that feeling
Oh,
anymore for the most part. I'll say not everything, not
oh, Lorena, you
everything.
mean you're not going to pay for a ticket to LA so you can buy leftover Star Cruiser glasses?
No, we're buying it. We're buying the parts. Like for May the 4th, I was shocked. I'm like, oh my God, there's actually Mickey ears. I want. So they can do it. They're
What?
very capable of doing it.
So is
But
that
most
supposed to
of the
be Leia
merchandise isn't
hair
there.
buns in that one?
Yeah, because it has to be
I was
like
thinking
Minnie. Because
when it's
remember,
National
Minnie's
Cinnamon Roll
ears are
Day, they
like
can double
this.
that one up.
Yes. Yeah, remember, Minnie's ears are like this, so they kind of fix it that way.
Hey Vash, you're really zoomed in and muted.
I am terrible at this. I tried to enlarge you, but I can't. Oh wait, can I do this? Yes,
Oh,
yes.
there
There's
you
the
go.
ears.
Yeah, see, these
Thank
are
you.
these. So they have these,
I'm telling you, they should come with a little tub of frosting for the
and they
cinnamon
also
rolls.
have these.
Leia and Vader.
Yeah.
I see.
And I was shocked because I was
So
like,
you
wow.
walked in and they said that'll be $75, and you said what? And they said, I have altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it.
I'm gonna say there's a decent chance that about 4 years ago you could go on Etsy and find those exact ears that Disney copied because they don't like you using their material for your own gain. But unfortunately, I need to slide out. I will say this. As far as the merchandise goes, I think desirability declined starting at the beginning of 2021 for all the reasons that Lorena said. And you know what? If you wanted good gear, all you had to do was go to Disney Springs and check out Uniqlo, the Japanese store, which had amazing gear. On that note, I'm going to slide out. Thank you for allowing me to be here amongst all these esteemed panelists. I will see you later.
See ya.
Thank you so much, Culture. We will see you later right there. And somebody said Vader altering the deal right here.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
We got that in drop form.
So my perspective on the whole merchandise thing is, and this is talking just from experience in the last several weeks. So they have a lot of merchandise to purchase at the different stores, and some of it's really good and some of it's just okay, right? But the thing is that when they come out with these new merchandise, sometimes it's very limited on what they have. For example, there was a sweatshirt that I was trying to look for me and my daughter, and a sweatshirt I was trying to look for my dad. And the one he liked happened to be Mickey in the Astro Orbiter on a black sweatshirt. And you think, okay, it's just a simple one. You could find the Minnie Mouse one with no problem every single week throughout the park. But the Mickey one, you couldn't find it. If you did find it, it was only in small and medium. They didn't have any other sizes. I needed to get extra large for him. And it was really frustrating. I literally searched for, I think it was almost 7 weeks before I finally found his sweatshirt and my daughter's sweatshirt. And they do, and I get it, it's kind of supply and demand. They're not sure how it's going to sell. Maybe they have a limited amount, see how it goes. And then they're like, oh my goodness, this is selling really, well. So now we got to try to get it in, and you're trying to find it. The other thing is too, sometimes you find this on the Disney store and sometimes you can't for the Disney parks items. And so sometimes, they're selling it there. And so maybe, they're selling out there and they can't keep it in the parks. There's a lot of factors. But I think the thing is they have a lot of merchandise. And when you have something like me, I'm a theme park streamer, and I was there week after week looking twice a week for these items. You got people who are just there for a day or two. If they can't find the item they're looking for, well, they just don't buy anything, and then they don't make a purchase, which is unfortunate. And so that could be a contributing factor as well, is that if they don't find what they're looking for, it's not in stock, or they're not going to be able to get it back in the time they're visiting the resort, well, then they don't make a sell.
In a way, some of us could inadvertently be part of that problem, by which I mean, Lorena, I remember when a couple of days ago you went and showed all the new stuff for the DreamWorks stuff at Universal, and it was all just amazing. But somebody watching that stream and said, that one, I want that one. If they all went the next day, they're probably out of them for the next 2 weeks till they get another shipment. So there's the internet has given it a different kind of promotion or advertising or generated demand for certain things, I think. Not that that's wrong, but that's just the reality of the way things are compared to the way they were before that happened.
Casual.
I think I'd look at it from the perspective of there's only so much that people are going to buy. And like when you look at the mini ears, there's just dozens of them, right? There's dozens of different styles anytime you go, and they're constantly releasing new ones. There's only so many people that are going to buy all of the new ones. You know what I mean? And they've got a thing going with Stitch right now where every month it's a new snack, but it's like patterned around Stitch. And so you've got the lounge fly, you've got the ears, you've got the shirt, you got the hoodie, you got the this, you got the that, all based around this one thing. And every month new ones are released.
Right.
There's just going to be a fatigue to that. There's going to be people that, oh, well, I like this one, but I don't like that one. Or, well, I can't get all of this stuff, so I'm only going to buy the one item, but I'll get all 12 of them when they all come out. But I'm not going to buy, 12 lounge flies plus 12 ears plus 12 hoodies plus, so I think there's just a weirdness with that. I will say that just recently, the latest drop of merchandise, just like a month or two ago, it finally had a design that I liked. That was my problem. I didn't like any of it. Mm-hmm. It was, it looked cheesy. It looked, blah. It's like, give me something that says Disneyland without the resort label on there. Those kind of things were just, my take. And they finally had one that I liked, and Mrs. Casual bought it, but she bought it on sale from online, not at the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people that know the different ways to get things, I'll tell you right now, if I buy something at the park, it is simply because it's a gift. It is not a impulse buy. There is none of that happening when it comes to merchandise for me. It's, okay, I'm going to be getting somebody a gift, and this would make a nice gift for them. That's basically the only time I'm buying merch in the parks.
It's a fair point. I mean, there's a lot of merchandise lines that, the documentation talks about scale. Oh, we got to scale these things up. It's interesting because like the Shimmering Seas 25th anniversary collection from the Disney Cruise Line generating $2.5 million in sales. And it's like, oh, how can we eclipse that and scale that up? It's going to be interesting because that's an anniversary thing, but you can kind of see where those patterns take hold. Also, too, I guess they're going to have customizable headbands and so forth.
Yeah, those went flying. Yeah. Those went flying off the shelves, by the way.
That was first brought out in Hong Kong, then scaled up to Shanghai, and then they took that team that developed that originally, and it was like they said, okay, we're going to bring this out all at the Disney parks. And yeah, it has. Yeah, they flew off the shelves, but it's quite interesting how they scale these things up.
If you want to go to the history of customizable stuff, other than actual moms and grandmothers embroidering the daughter's name on the sweater or something back in the day, the first thing I can think of in general merchandising it was customized was the "Sew Your Name on Your Mickey Ears" hat at Disneyland.
Yes,
way back before any other park certainly was doing it. So, you reap what you sow, right?
Yeah. I guess so.
And then you've got popcorn buckets and sippers.
Don't get me started on those.
But that's just it. I mean, you guys remember when they were like a big deal, and they're still, wow, you've got the new popcorn bucket, but it's not the same kind of thing. Like, better get there before they sell out.
No, it's very selective when it comes to the popcorn buckets, because they'll put one out, this one out, this one out, this one out. But when they come up with something that's so unique, like for example, do I have it? Let me get it down here. Okay. Like this one from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Wow.
Okay. This one, people were following you to find out where you got it from. At the Halloween party, they had a Mickey one that I think was like a mummy. Nobody freaking cared. Everyone's trying to get this one. So it's like if they're unique, then people want to get it. But
what's funny is generic when I see that horn with the black and white spiral, I think of Beetlejuice, not of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, I know.
same guy. So,
but think about it for a minute. The plain old ordinary popcorn from the carts in the park. Mm-hmm. Can you think of what fraction of a penny or two that popcorn actually costs?
Right.
Oh. And another half a penny for the box.
Yeah.
So this was somebody saying, we've got something that's free anyway. How can we add whatever it is, $10, $20 to the cost of? By the way, I heard a story years ago, and you guys are more expert than me, will know if it's true, that when the Japanese were first going through Disneyland and looking at what they wanted in their park, they told Disney, well, the popcorn carts are a no. They said in Japanese culture, eating while walking down the street is a sign that you're a vagrant, and people would find it very déclassé and won't do it. And Disney said, why don't you try one anyway? And they put one on that covered Main Street in Tokyo, and in the first year it did $1 million worth of popcorn sales.
Well, it's because
so much for culture.
Well, because in Japan, if you eat with your hands, it's a sign of disrespect. That's why.
Right. Which explains. Yeah, right.
Well, also too, it's kind of funny that they had that view, because now flavored popcorn is the biggest ever in Japan. And we don't get a lot of these unique flavors,
just like some of their strange ice cream and other things that they do with weird fishes and vegetables and roots and things. But hey, chacun a son cuisine, as the Japanese say in French.
That's well, there you go. Barry Place 28 with the $5 super chat for a very good stream today. Thank you so much.
You're always very good when you're here.
Yes.
I mean that.
I appreciate
Thank you so much.
You are one of the great new discoveries that I've made here and being part of this band of merry men and women. Truly.
Oh, I'm honored.
Thank you. High praise, by the way, as well. Casual, thank you so much.
Do I get the boysenberry sent to me now or not?
That's what it was. He wants me to send him boysenberry stuff.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Shoot. There's an ulterior motive there. Okay.
Make the funnel cakes.
I just need to find out how to send it via Ghost. That's all.
Oh, well.
Yes. That's the tough part, right?
There's a joke there somewhere, but I can't think of it.
Don't go there.
Very special delivery or post-mortem or something like that. Post-mortem, that'll work.
We're getting a little morbid here.
There's no turning back now.
I guess it's appropriate, right?
There you go.
Yeah, Paul Frees. That's right. We're going to have a show on that, by the way, Lou. I hope you know that. We're going to have a show on Paul Frees.
Oh, good. Because, my mom worked with him.
Yeah,
my mom was a vegetable with Paul Frees in radio. It's a long story. We'll tell it on that show. We'll tease everybody with that. There you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Well, Lou, what do you got going on? What do you got going on, genre guys, and everything else?
Let's see. Genre guys.
What's your genre?
We just did. I think it's going to go up this week. Roller coaster. Speaking of theme parks, and next we've got. Trying to think of the order we're doing them in. But the next few weeks we've got Demolition Man and Buckaroo Banzai and Gunga Din and and Pro's request, Pro's favorite movie, which is Bridge of Spies, and which I had forgotten what a big picture that is. I remembered the scenes with him and the spy, but all the other stuff surrounding it, fantastic picture. And of course, we just did Around the World in 80 Days and Ocean's 11, and it's a fun thing. And one of these days, you and I are going to figure out how to do a TV series type of thing like that on all the classic retro series, including all those great Fox series that I thought by now would certainly have shown up on Disney Plus, but no. They did Lost in Space and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Combat and Peyton Place and Bracken's World and all those great shows from the 60s and the 70s. And where are they? Nowhere. Isn't that amazing? But then you and I, of course, did a live version of our little fandango here just the other day. And I guess we'll do another one of those pretty soon. And then we have our tour of Hollywood coming up.
Oh, yes.
There is this thing called the Production Zone, or what's the other version?
The 30-mile zone.
The 30-mile zone, which is basically if you shoot within 30 miles of, if you know where Beverly Center is, and if within 30 miles of that, you can tell people to take their own car, show up, bring their own lunch, and you don't have to do all that for them. And anything outside of that, you got to bus them and feed them and so like that. So happily, there is such a wide variety of places that can be made into movies within that 30-mile zone. And we're going to take a tour around the map and show them to people. Everything from the Batcave to Vasquez Rocks, where Kirk fought the Gorn, and the Bradbury Building. If you remember that great Outer Limits episode with Robert Culp, where he has the glass hand, that old Victorian office building, which has been in other things too. And,
Loyola Marymount.
Yeah, there you go. And well, golly, all the houses, of course. But also, Vash was surprised when I showed him the convention center in LA, which has been airports and futuristic labs and all kinds of things. And I didn't show you, the sports arena was the lab where the Fantastic Voyage submarine was. And anyway, there's a lot of places. And we're going to do one of those, just zooming around the map on Google Earth, I guess, and showing people pictures and telling them what was made there. So those are some of the things we have coming in the future. Beverly Center, yeah.
I spent way too much money at Beverly
Center. See, when I was a kid, Lorena, that corner, believe it or not, was a barbecue joint called Smoky Joe's. And it was almost like a diner. It was very small, but right behind it was the pony rides when you went with your mom and dad. And then next to that was Beverly Park, which is the famous place where Walt sat on the bench eating peanuts while the kids rode the merry-go-round and got the idea for Disneyland. So that's a pretty important corner in the lore of things. And God, but I remember those pony rides. It was just a big ring with a lot of Shetland ponies, and parents put you on it and you rode around it 3 times, whether you wanted to or not.
It all comes around. It all comes around. Don't touch that dial, folks. You'll be redirected to the Mr. H show very, very quickly right here. Lorena, what do you got coming up?
Let's see. Tomorrow, of course, at 5 p.m. Eastern is the Spice Lounge. And of course, Vash is going to be joining me there for that, as well as Culture Casino and special guests, Miss Teresa Martin Muses. We are going to be talking about that Doctor Who show on Disney Plus. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that.
You mean the one where the star said, if you don't like it, don't watch it? People said, okay, we won't.
I have so many comments and insights about that show, but we're going to be talking about that and the epic trolling job that HBO Max did on Amazon by dropping their trailer for House of the Dragon Season 2, while Amazon only dropped a picture of Elf Sauron. That's what I'm going to call him. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow, along with some other hot topics that are going to be coming up. And over the weekend for myself, Gatorpalooza is popping off at Gatorland here in Orlando.
Good.
It's the 75th anniversary of Gatorland. Family Park, still owned by the same family, and the new leucistic baby gator and her brother are going to be out. She is only one of 2 leucistic alligators born in the world. So we're going to be over there checking that out. So much real Florida theme park fun we're going to have this weekend. And thank you, Vash, for having me here. I appreciate it.
I loved the last time you went to Gatorland. That was fantastic. I can't wait to see it again.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, so fun, so fun. Definitely hit the subscribe, not only on this channel on the way up, but Lorena as well, right before Mr. H. That'll be a fun time for sure. Casual, what do you got going on over there in the theme park vlogger sphere?
Well, I plan to be at Disneyland tomorrow night, just for a casual stream, just kind of relaxing at the park. I will be there again on Friday evening, where we're wrapping up the big race, where several of the Disneyland streamers are in a race to complete all the attractions at Disneyland to see who can complete them first. Right now, I'm in 3rd place. I have 2 attractions left for my completion: Space Mountain and the Disneyland Railroad. So we'll see what we can do with that. And then Saturday, I have a special live stream. I will be at the Castle Peak and Thunder Railroad. If you guys know what that is the backyard Disneyland. It's a gentleman, a family in Yorba Linda, who have converted their backyard into a model railroad version of Disneyland.
Wow.
So I will be there live, checking it out for one of their open houses. And Mr. Shigog, who created this whole thing, has agreed to be interviewed during the live stream. So I will be there probably starting around 1:30, 2 o'clock-ish on Saturday.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I've been there a couple of times, and every time I'm just enthralled with it. I could be there for hours and hours. I'm hoping that I can get some good footage and a good interview.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much, Casual, for joining us today, sir. I know you're very, very busy, so thank you so much for that. Barry Place 28, what do you have on the horizon?
So I will also be at Disneyland tomorrow night. So who knows? Maybe I'll meet up with Casual and do a stream party. But yeah, I will be there tomorrow night to have some fun. And right now I'm covering Main Street windows in May. So if you come join my stream, I'm going to be covering some of the mainstream windows and talking about who the people are that helped create, Disneyland, and were instrumental in helping Walt build his park. So it's a lot of fun. We usually cover some of the windows at the beginning of the podcast as well as the end of the live stream, and then we'll be riding rides, eating some foods, having some good time. So come join. It's always a great place, and you can always check me out on my social media channels at Barry Place 28. And thanks again for having me this week. Always a pleasure being here.
Absolutely. Oh, well, I love the friends on here, includes Lorena Liu. Casual was a real treat, so thank you so much for coming on. Culture, you, Barry, you guys are the things that make this possible. But most importantly, for everybody who joined us today, thank you so much, because literally, as Pro would say, you are the electricity that fuels everything that we do here. You are absolutely the people that make doing what we do so rewarding and actually work in the first place. So thank you so much for everything there.
Oh, I got a new outro for you, Vash. For all who came to this happy place, you're welcome.
I love that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You go. And for all that came to this happy place, well, thank you so much right there. Thank you, Ghost. That's perfect. See y'all later. Bye-bye.